I thought it was just another weird Craigslist ad. Night owl seeking dedicated personal assistant. Must be comfortable with unusual hours and have a strong stomach. Excellent pay. I was broke, desperate, and my sleep schedule was already a mess, so I figured, why not? The interview was in a Gothic-looking mansion on the edge of town, the kind of place you see in old horror movies. The guy who answered the door, Mr. Alistair, was impossibly handsome, with pale skin, dark, intense eyes, and a voice that was smooth as velvet. He hired me on the spot. My duties were odd. I'd arrive at sunset and leave at sunrise. Mostly, I was organizing his library, which was filled with ancient books, or polishing his extensive collection of silver antiques. He was always polite, a perfect gentleman, but there was this strange intensity about him. He never ate in front of me, and he moved with a silence that was almost unnerving. Sometimes I'd turn around, and he'd just be there, watching me with an unreadable expression. I'd jump, and he'd offer a charming, apologetic smile. One evening, I was cataloging some old leather-bound journals and accidentally sliced my finger on a sharp page corner. It wasn't a deep cut, but it bled freely. I yelped, and suddenly, Alistair was across the room in a blur. He hadn't been anywhere near me a second before. His eyes were locked on the drop of blood welling up on my fingertip. They weren't just intense anymore. They were blazing, like to burning coals. A strange, animalistic hunger flashed across his face, and his lips parted slightly, revealing the tips of canines that were just a little too sharp, a little too long. My heart hammered against my ribs. It all clicked into place: the night schedule, the mansion, his paleness, the weird intensity. It wasn't a quirky billionaire I was working for. It was a vampire, and I had just served him an appetizer. He took a step closer, his gaze transfixed on my hand. I was frozen, a deer in the headlights. This was it. This was how I was going to end up as a local news headline. Missing assistant, foul play suspected. My mind was racing, trying to remember every vampire movie I'd ever seen. Garlic, steaks, sunlight. I had none of those. All I had was a paper cut. He reached out, his long, elegant fingers gently taking my hand. His touch was cold as ice. I squeezed my eyes shut, waiting for the bite, but it never came. Instead, I felt him gently press a silk handkerchief against the cut. I opened my eyes. He was looking at me, but the hunger in his eyes was gone, replaced by something I couldn't decipher. Was it regret? He looked pained. You should be more careful, he murmured, his voice low and strained. He avoided looking at my finger, instead focusing on my face. The library is full of old dangers. From that night on, things changed. The air between us was thick with the unspoken truth. He was a vampire. I knew it. He knew I knew it. And we both pretended we didn't, but he became more protective. He'd insist on walking me to my car, his eyes scanning the darkness. He started leaving out Band-Aids and disinfectant on my desk. It was the most bizarre, considerate behavior from a creature that, just a few days ago, looked like he wanted to drain me dry. I should have been terrified. I should have quit, but I didn't. I was intrigued. Who was this man, this monster, who fought so hard against his own nature? One night, a heavy storm trapped me at the mansion. The power went out, plunging us into darkness, save for the occasional flash of lightning. We ended up in the library, lit only by a candelabra he'd produced. "You're not afraid of me, are you?" he asked softly, his face illuminated in the flickering light. I hesitated. Honestly, I was, but now. I'm not sure. I looked at him, really looked at him. "Why didn't you? You know, that night with the paper cut." A sad smile touched his lips. For centuries, I've existed in the shadows, fighting what I am. I built a life of discipline, of control. And then you walked in, with your messy bun and your habit of humming off-key while you work. You brought light into this old house. A life I've tried so hard to keep at a distance. He looked away, staring into the flames. Seeing your blood, it was the hardest test I've faced in a century. It was a reminder of the monster I am, but hurting you would mean destroying the one good thing that has happened to me in a very, very long time. My heart ached for him. Here was this powerful, ancient being, lonelier than anyone I'd ever met. He wasn't a monster. He was a man, cursed and fighting a battle every single second of his existence. In that moment, I wasn't his assistant, and he wasn't my vampire boss. We were just two lonely souls, finding a strange sort of companionship in a dark, stormy mansion. "You're not a monster, Alistair," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "You're the most human person I've ever met." A single, perfect tear traced a path down his pale cheek, glistening in the candlelight. He didn't say anything, but he didn't have to. The look in his eyes said it all. We sat in silence for a long time, the storm raging outside. But for the first time in his long, long life, and for the first time in mine, neither of us felt alone. My job was still weird, my boss was still a vampire. But I'd stumbled into something more than just a paycheck. I'd found a story of friendship and a connection in the most unexpected of places, and I wasn't going to run away. After all, who gets to say their boss is a vampire who is trying his best to be a good guy? That's a story worth sticking around for. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. See you next time.